Ladies and gentlemen, I am not sure we are ready for what's inside this box, because this is the successor to the Hyte Y60, the Hyte Y70 Touch. Because yes, there is a friggin' touchscreen on the side of this chassis. This could be the best idea since sliced bread, or it could literally be a really terrible way of wasting your money. But I think it's fair to say we've never seen anything like this before. Well, I mean, I suppose we've seen the Hyte Y60. That was a really impressive chassis, and this isn't going to be too different to that. It does have a few changes, most notably really being better airflow, and then of course, the touchscreen. So let's actually take a closer look at this. Let's do a full build to see how it comes together, whether the end result is actually going to be worth buying. But before we do that, a quick word from this video sponsor. The Gigabyte G5 is the gaming laptop for those that want to play the latest games without spending an arm and a leg. Packing the latest RTX 40 series graphics, the Gigabyte G5 is ready for jaw-dropping ray tracing and frame rate boosting DLSS 3. Learn more about this 144Hz gaming beast today with the link down below. Let's begin by opening this thing up then, shall we? Completely toolless, which is nice, decent thick panel as well. Our screen is clearly covered by this cardboard. You do want to protect it, but I think it's safe to remove this now. And yeah, here we have our display. I mean, it's got this nice little label on it that will help to protect it, but if we remove that, and we are then left with tempered glass with the screen behind it. So this is one unit, it connects to your computer via DisplayPort, but all of the cables are actually pre-routed for you. Also does require SATA for power, but this is 4K in the sense that it's a 4K screen, but obviously a lot smaller. So the resolution is 1100 by 3840. Aside from the screen though, the main thing I think you'll notice about this is just the sheer volume of case. I mean, this is very much all about airflow, but also modern components. I mean, if we grab the largest GPU that I have, the RTX 4090 Master, you'll see this fits in there with pretty much no issues whatsoever. I mean, obviously where you do have this corner, you do have to be slightly careful with stupidly large graphics cards that it's not going to interfere, but if the 4090 Master fits in here, as I say, I don't think you're really going to be likely to have problems with anything, but obviously do always check. This vertical GPU riser does come as standard. This is the Hyte way. They want you to have this in a vertical orientation, but obviously you don't have to. You can still have this case and remove it, but then you are kind of paying for the privilege. A bit like buying this variant and then not using the screen. Wouldn't really make any sense. In terms of I/O, we've got our power button, 2 USB 3s and a USB Type-C, and then a headphone microphone combo jack. Round the side, you can see we've got loads of airflow and ventilation here, which is great because you're probably going to want to populate this with fans or things. It is nice that it's not essential. I mean, if we flip this round again, you'll see that it's not going to look its best if you don't have fans and things here, but it doesn't look ridiculous like it does in some cases where it is literally just an empty gap. The top of the case is pretty much more of the same, plenty of airflow, and then on the back, you'll find that we have these storage bays here, which does help to sort of neaten up your chassis because everything can be tucked in this rear chamber, which is nice and out of the way. Power supply will go down here as well, and then there is plenty of cable management as well. It might get slightly messy if you're using custom cables and you've got a lot going on here, but generally speaking, there should be enough space, and cable management can be more a case of stuffing it in here rather than really neat management, but obviously the choice is always up to you. Oh, and actually that's pretty neat. We've got all of our cables here that you'd typically expect. I think we also have a block for the front panel. Yep, we do, which always helps. It's easier to plug it in. But then this is what I thought was going to be a DisplayPort cable, but actually it is a pre-routed cable that terminates in this little DisplayPort connection here that's screwed into the back. So it is just going to be one run cable that goes from here to your graphics card, which is going to be a lot cleaner and a lot neater. So not really any effort on your part at all to build this, hopefully. In terms of what we actually are building in this, we are going for, I guess, the nicest white build that I could muster with all of the parts. We've got a Z690 board, so one back in the range, but we're going to update the BIOS on this and then use a 14th gen Intel i5. We're going to go for pretty much all white components. We've got white RAM, cooler, graphics card, all of the works really, but we're also using a 360 radiator. I will leave some links to all of this, by the way, down in the description below. If you're watching on mobile, just hit more and then more, and you can find everything. And I will also leave some advice and a few other things. So if you were going to build this yourself, I'm going to essentially balance out the build in the description down below. But yeah, it does come in 3 colors as well. This obviously is white and black, but you can get it in black or red. Red does look nice, by the way. Here is some lovely overlaid footage of the previous build we did in red. As you can see, it looks really, really nice. But turning back to the Y70, in terms of cooling, you can put 140s in here, but you can only fit 2 on each panel, really. So you're better off going for 3 120s, so you have them here, down here in the bottom chamber as well, obviously up here at the side. And then I guess you could put a 140 on the back here. It's quite nice actually in the way that it's not necessarily so obvious. If you don't want to use one, there's not like a big gaping hole. But then likewise, if you do want to have a fan here, then you can. But I would probably just go with airflow in that orientation. First things first, we do want to remove our little riser cable so we can get our motherboard in. We'll place this to one side and then we'll start our motherboard build. As I say, we're not going to focus too much on the build side of things, but I would like to think that if you are going to go for a case like this and spend up to $370 or $380 on a case like this, then chances are you are going to be going for something pretty high end. I mean, obviously if you want to go for looks over performance, then that's your prerogative, but I'm not sure that's what I would do. So let's open up our slot, grab the brand new and definitely not a refresh, though to be fair, Intel have labeled it as a refresh, 14th gen CPU, and drop this down into position. Some G-Skill RAM, not quite in white, it's more of a silver effect, but I think it looks really nice. Whoa, 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 whoa. Is this a DDR4 motherboard? Yes. Some Spectrix D50 to the rescue. Though to be fair, I think this definitely does look better. Install our SSD. This is the Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus G, and the G stands for gaming. One thing that I have noticed, it's not a problem, but to be aware of, is while we do have a CPU cutout here for access, so you can put like your cooler bracket on your board, because of the fact we've got this drive cage here, it is going to be easier to do it now. So we're going to open up our Kraken Z73 and we're going to start the mounting process now. Just flip the board over and then drop this into position and then screw in the screws. Now that that's ready to go, we will of course flip this on its side, pick up our motherboard and then just lay this into our chassis. Are we going to get one of those plastic tidy things? No, it doesn't look like it, but you do get this DisplayPort cable to actually plug in the screen, which is cool. Otherwise, it is fairly basic, just literally a bag of the screws that you need. And your 3.0 to double 3.0 if you're going to use analog audio for the case. We'll take off the plastic sheath and then drop in our riser card. It's actually in a different slot at the moment, so no problem, but this does need to get moved. So let's get that pressed down into position. We can then proceed to flip this back over and have a look at our handiwork. And something I will point out that I don't think I've really seen from a chassis before is this sort of one-piece cable grommet type solution that actually works really well, because I think it's really nice and clean, but then also you get the benefit of, well, just less exposed metal. I don't often cut myself on a computer chassis, but I think it does reduce the risk of that. And it also means that if you do kind of like push it a bit too much in one spot, the whole thing isn't going to come out like is normal really with those smaller cable grommets. So yeah, I'm liking this so far. We will take the top piece off. I should show you the other side. It's like this plastic mesh. I'm not really sure that this is particularly easy to detach though. It's kind of feels as if it's glued on. So if this does get bunged up with dust, a hoover is probably your best bet. Not sure if that matters. Probably not ideal, but it's manageable. Before we get this bunged up with loads of parts, by the way, I also want to flip this over to show you the other side. That is slightly annoyingly too tight at first, but a screwdriver comes in. Then you have this removable dust filter. I guess there is more dust and, you know, cat hair and stuff that would come in from the bottom than the top. And then this is where you can access your extra fan area. So if you do want to put some extra fans down here for airflow, this is where they're going to live. I mean, I say they're going to live there, they are, but in order to actually get them attached, you want to use this bottom plate here. It does actually look as if it's 2 fans down the bottom, not 3. The fans that we're going to be using for this are from NZXT. These are the F120 white RGB. You can also buy dual light loop versions of this if you want to go for something extra fancy. I mean, to be fair, this is actually one of the big changes versus the Y60, because you did get some fans, granted they're not obviously going to be the best, but you did get some fans as standard on the Y60, whereas the Y70 Touch doesn't have any. And I guess that the reasonable explanation for this is that if you are going to spend $380 on a chassis, chances are you can afford and definitely want some premium quality case fans. So we'll route the case fan cables through, and then it should just be a case of screwing this back into position and then dropping our dust filter on top. Those cables are completely invisible, and it's quite nice actually with the white fans in the bottom. I think you are going to get a little bit of underglow coming from underneath as well, and then hopefully a little bit of illumination comes through. This is where it would be better if you either had reverse flow fans or if you had like duo light loops or something like that, but I don't really think it's essential when it's in the basement anyway. I'll start connecting up the I/O, and tiny little grumble, if you are going to be using the HD audio connector, it is going to be very difficult to actually access this without taking the DisplayPort bracket out. It's really not a problem whatsoever, but bear it in mind. And then, to be fair, you have the same sort of problem, but it's arguably a lot more annoying with this bottom PCIe riser because it's now blocking all of the bottom ports. You probably can fumble your way through and get them all plugged in, but let's be honest, it's going to be easier just to unscrew this and take it out temporarily. Or maybe you should do it with the top piece, actually. Either way works, just work your way around the problem. Let's now proceed on to my favorite bit, as everyone that watches this channel regularly knows,
the radiator.
And with a case this big, I honestly don't think you're going to have too many problems. But something I have already noticed is that because you are going to be using USB for the case, make sure you've got enough headers on your motherboard, or if you're maybe using splitters or a hub or something, because I have a feeling once this, which is an LCD cooler, and all of the fans, and of course this touch panel is all connected, we might run out. I reckon this is going to happen to a lot of people. It does look as if this top radiator piece actually slides out, which is nice, and then you can screw it back on when you're done, which means we just need our radiator on top, a gentle screw in, then we can pick it up and mount our fans underneath, so we make sure, of course, that the cables are going the right way. I realise this is getting very instructional now. I was trying to be quick, rapido. Not funny? Get all the RGB cables plugged in, and then we can drop this back into position. Oh, don't do that. Easy does it, there we go. Now we can do the pump head, pre-applied with thermal paste. You guys are always asking why I'm not putting it on. It's because it's pre-applied on a lot of new coolers. Just push that over the top and then use the thumb screws provided. Oh look, it's almost as if I'm psychic. We need to use an internal USB hub. Now, for our next trick, I have some cables here that I've wanted to use for ages and I've never really found the right theme. And I don't know if this is going to work today. This could be a bit out there for some, but we're going for yellow cables. Not white, because we always do white. Last time as well we did white and black for something similar to this. And obviously in the Y60 we did red. So let's mix it up and see if this works. These are extension cables as well, so this is going to be a real test of this case's capacity for cable management around the back, because this is going to be bulk city. This really could look hideous, couldn't it? But it's Cable Mod, you can get any cables you want. So a massive shout out and thank you for Cable Mod for actually supplying these. We can then proceed to mount the rest of our fans, and once again, I don't think I've made the right choice here, because the RGB lighting is going to be facing the wrong way, which is a bit of a shame. They still look good, but they won't look perfect, so I would next time go for something else, but we can populate them here. As you can see, the cable management of this rig is going to start to get a lot more tricky now as soon as you add in all of these extra fans. This is yet another reason why I say going for daisy chainable or lockable fans will make your life easier, but here we have a lot of cables and I should be able to get them to fit. And while there definitely is loads of space here for cable management, there's not any clear channels or anything. I mean, you've definitely got some routable area here, but they're sort of tie-down points rather than actual straps and things like you see on most cases. And this seems very odd to me because there's so much space, yet it's not going to be the easiest cable management, which just seems a bit backwards. But let's deal with that problem when we come to it and instead go on to the most exciting part again of any build. I mean, probably not this one. This is the most exciting part of this build. But no, it is the gaming performance. It's the graphics card. And the graphics card that we are using here today is from PowerColor. This is the 6700 XT. This was a limited edition one, as you can see, in spectral white, has blue LEDs. This should look pretty tasty when it is all together, but I'll leave links for loads of different white GPUs that will look good in this down in the description below, because I have a feeling that this one is probably quite difficult to find. And down the bottom, you'll find a total of 4 slots, which is not only great for accommodating larger size graphics cards, but it does mean that your blades aren't going to be right up against the glass. And because of the nature of the chassis with those fans down directly below it, you're not going to have to worry too much about good airflow and good temperatures. This really is a have your cake and eat it chassis where you can see your graphics card in all of its glory, but then, as I say, not have to worry about thermals. And then we can move on to, hopefully the thing that's not going to look bad, our fully yellow cables. Does white and yellow go? Maybe? I mean, white would be the safe bet for this, but who likes safe, huh? I mean, it doesn't look bad, does it? It just doesn't really look right. Doesn't look white. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. And the only real other thing to do before we actually get this thing turned on and hopefully see it working is to install our power supply. This is one here from Cooler Master. It's the V750i, and this one does actually support ATX3 as well if you wanted to go for one of these new NVIDIA GPUs. But as always, make sure you're buying the appropriate wattage for the build that you're building. One thing though that is definitely worth noting is that the Gen 5 or ATX3 connection that you do get with this is only rated for 300 watts. So if you're going for like a 4080 or 4090, you're going to want to look at something else really, just to make sure you're supplying enough power to your rig. I mean, to be fair, there are cable management straps. They're just down here right at the bottom, which kind of are useful, but they still don't solve this. But the real test is going to be whether our side panel goes on that real hitch. I do love just how toolless this is. There you go, pushes in, plenty of room. Then you would never know, but when you turn it around this side, you get your super neat and tidy rig. So yeah, I'm liking this actually. I think this was really easy to build in. I mean, there are always going to be improvements you could make to things like cable management, but then everything else was a breeze really. Make sure you do it in the right order. Don't put your graphics card in straight away. But especially for a beginner, I don't think you'll have any real issues with this. And the only difficulty really that comes with it is putting all of the other components in. So the more complicated your setup, the more complicated the build is going to be. Whether you should go for yellow cables, I'm probably going to say no, but until we turn this on, we won't know for sure. Let's plug our monitor in and wish me luck. Yes, I know, I can't find the button. It's here. Let's do it. Boom! There we go. That certainly looks like it's turning on. The fans aren't spinning on the cooler though, which doesn't bode well. But then I don't want to turn it off because if we've updated the BIOS, it could break it. No, there's no cooling. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. Don't die. Don't die. I must have missed a SATA. Let's go again. Let's do it for real. And I also want to see the screen illuminate this time because we've not got anything at the moment. Right, okay, so we are in Windows, but now comes the moment of truth because I want to connect this DisplayPort cable and just see whether our screen comes on. It does! There it is, it's Windows completely the wrong way, but we were expecting this sort of thing to happen. And I must admit, already, I can tell this is ridiculously high res, and I just don't know whether it needs to be. I guess it's a good thing and I shouldn't be complaining, but it probably would have brought the cost down a little bit if it wasn't quite so high res, but hey, there we go. Right, hello everyone. This is Future Markers taking the reins for the rest of this video because frankly, you don't want to see a really boring video of how to set it up when it is literally just a case of install the software and you'll be at the same stage. And besides, I needed to use this for a prolonged period of time so I could actually understand how it all works, understand the flaws, limitations, but ultimately all the good things as well. And essentially it is very straightforward. It won't really do much when you first plug it in. It will display as a display, which is pretty cool. So there is a bit of a bug with this software. So if I press Windows and D, you should see that it goes to the desktop because this does actually display as its own separate display in Windows. Some people have actually already commented on my shorts video on this chassis saying that this is a great feature and they actually want it to do this because I suppose you could use it as a display and put anything there. So, you know, useful, but it will bring a few bugs as a result. But the secret sauce is all in this Hyte software. So we'll open this up and it looks very cool, but it is still a fair bit buggy because this is a brand new product and the software, I mean, it's really impressive actually for just how new it is. You compare it to like some motherboard software from, I don't know, like ASUS or MSI that frankly should be a lot better than they are. And frankly, I think it is better than those, but there are still a few limitations. So you can use this a bit like NZXT Cam and iQ to monitor everything and control RGB lighting and stuff, which is cool with different integrations. But then this is where you will be able to customize this screen. And the screen itself is really nice actually. It is very, very sharp. It's a lot sharper than I thought. I mean, you hear 4K and I don't know, I thought this might be a bit gimmicky, but no, it really is just like using a high-res tablet screen or something. And I've kind of set this up the way I would want it. So you have your different statistics and things for both the GPU and the CPU, clock, time and date, weather, everything I would want at a glance. But you can add extra things as well, like Twitch chat, which would be useful, but at the moment you can only have it as like a small block rather than taking up the whole thing. And in the future as well, you'll be able to have RSS feeds, so you could get news and things broadcast straight to your PC case. That would be pretty cool, but you can see some of these are actually grayed out at the moment. Things like if this then that will be pretty nifty as well once you can get this on there. But as this is a work in progress, just tell Hyte on Twitter, on Contact Us, on Reddit, however you want. Tell them what you actually want to have on this, and I'm sure their development team will be implementing the best ideas because they're trying to sell more cases, right? They want it to be as useful as possible, and this is a bit like a blank canvas at the moment. So there's definitely room for improvement, but I quite like the way it is straight out the gate. I mean, there are some weird bugs, like you can't move things around. You should be able to click and drag them, but you can't. You can't right click as well, which is a bit weird. But if you want to add something, let's say media, you choose the size of it. So let's say 4x2, we'll hit add, and then that will pop up on the screen here. And you can create different windows and things, so you can swipe between them, which is quite nice. All your statistics are always available at a glance. You can actually swipe down from the top as well. You can change the brightness of the screen, which is nifty, as well as your microphone and headphone volume, which I suppose would be pretty useful for people. But the software itself does use a lot of resources, which is a bit odd. So if we open up our task manager and go over to performance, you can see that our GPU is at about 8 to 10%. And I think it does do something with this background here. As soon as you open that up, it spikes. So we're now at about 20%, which is a little bit odd. But when this case really does start to come alive is when you actually use it to display high resolution video. I mean, we've got another bug here. This is actually the first time I've seen this bug. But as I say, it's a work in progress. So that is some major feedback. If you are going to buy this case, expect it to not be perfect straight away, but be a lot better over time. But frankly, I still think it's in a pretty good state generally for something so brand new. Right, we're back in. And you go over to here where it says theme, and you get all of these different ones that you can use straight out the gate. You can choose different accent colors as well that they recommend, so you don't get this problem that we have here where you can't see the text. But I really like the theme I have. I will show you this one now. So they have this fish as a default, and a lot of people think this case looks like a fish tank anyway, so lean into it. That's pretty cool. You can have that here, and then I like having one separate window that's completely blank, so you can have it as a more visual thing. But then you can also use your own media files, and it's quite cool because you can even go into videos and, I don't know, let's choose some Ratchet and Clank. You can have this 4K video and it will just load that up and then it will play it back, which is going to use a lot of resources, and it's not the smoothest playback in the world. I mean, it's not really the right file for it, so instead go for something that's probably a lot easier to run, like this online royalty-free fish tank video, and then you see that will pop up. I mean, I don't know why it's lagging, because this is the first time it's actually done that. I'm not entirely sure why. It might be because of the resources that the software's using. Then it's done that bug again where it gets rid of it. But there we go, we're back. When it's working, this is pretty darn cool. So this is how I want to have it with this little fish tank mode, where you have it completely blank, or as I would have it, where you have the fish tank behind and then all of your stats. And then there is also a little bit of an Easter egg that's not really an Easter egg, and that's actually a built-in game. And I imagine they will have more of this as time goes on. This is called Block Game. It's definitely not familiar and you've never seen anything like this before, but this is actually formatted for this screen, and it's quite cool. It's not 100% responsive all the time, but it's near enough that you're gonna have a pretty cool experience. I think we're just marred by the fact that smartphones are obviously like 120 hertz and super responsive all the time. But yeah, you could absolutely play Block Game on your PC case if you want. And overall, I would say that it's a really easy case to recommend, purely because there's not really anything majorly wrong with it, other than the fact that obviously having high resolution video running whilst you're playing a game, doesn't matter how many displays you have, most people won't do it. Well, I would love it if you could have different profiles that would automatically activate and deactivate depending on what you were doing. And I would say to Hyte, maybe look at what Wallpaper Engine do, which is to sort of shut everything down as soon as you open a high activity or high GPU utilization game, and then just default to the solid color, because I think at the moment you're going to have to do this yourself, which is going to be a little bit annoying, but I'm sure this would be one of the first things that they patch in. Besides that though, it really is a fantastic case though. I mean, it's so easy to build in. I love that it's very easy to get a classy build because everything is just ready to go straight out the gate. They thought about all the cable management, the fact that all of the cables are pre-done for you on the screen and very neatly comes out the back here, I think is fantastic. I would like a little bit more cable management on the inside of it with some extra straps and some more obvious channels, but it's something that you can forgive because this was a quite complicated build and I've still managed to get it set up very very easily. So overall, I'm really impressed with this, and I'm looking forward to see what Hyte do with it over time. But I think the question very much goes out to you on this. Are you interested in having a display like this on your PC case? Would you use it? And if you would, what would you put on it? Please let us know down in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash the like button, get yourself subscribed. 80% of you aren't subscribed. What are you doing? It's so simple, completely free. Just hit that subscribe button down below and you'll get all of my videos alerted to you when they go live. But if you do also want to check out current pricing on anything featured in this video, then you can of course check that down below with our Amazon affiliate links. And while you're down there, why not check out Gigabyte's G5 gaming laptop? The G5 packs a 144Hz display into a solid, sturdy laptop body with up to a 12-core Intel processor and an RTX 4060 graphics card. No matter whether you're wanting multiplayer action or ray trace DLSS 3 immersion, the G5 is the laptop you've been waiting for. It even comes with a 2-year warranty. Grab yours today with the link down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll catch you in the next one.